I tell people all the time, don't ever underestimate the value of your product.
Yeah.
If it's truly a quality product and you have transparency and you're delivering the things that you say you're delivering, then price for it. You don't have to gouge the market, but
right.
Impact-driven companies can only have impact if they stay in business.
Welcome to Becoming Radical, the podcast for creators, builders, and dreamers just like you. What does it mean to become radical in a world of constant change? Hosted by Michael Gaizutis, each week we'll explore the real-time journeys of those rewriting the rules. From untold failures to groundbreaking success. If you're ready to break the boundaries of limited thinking, this is your guide to unlimited growth.
Welcome to Becoming Radical. Excited to be here with everybody again today. We are joined by Keith Bearden, who is the CEO of Alter Eco. Alter Eco is a pioneer in sustainable food and climate-forward business practices. Very excited to have you here today, Keith. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, we had a little bit of a chat here for a few minutes before about your background, everything you've done. You've done a lot. Very exciting background and history. You're well-traveled for sure. You've definitely spent what it seems like much of your career in the natural food space. What really drew you to Alter Eco, and what keeps you inspired as the CEO?
Well, it's interesting. My journey into food was not a planned one, honestly.
Yeah.
I started my career decades ago, with the Dow Chemical company.
Ah.
And my undergraduate degree is actually in computer science.
Oh, wow.
And I started in IT, and shortly after joining Dow, I had the opportunity to move into the audit department.
Okay.
And as auditors, we traveled around the globe, literally, auditing all of Dow's facilities. And I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to transfer to Antwerp, Belgium. So I lived my wife and I moved to Antwerp, Belgium, lived there for 5 years. Both of our daughters were born there. And then we returned back to Midland, Michigan, where Dow's corporate headquarters is located. And a couple of years back into little old Midland, Michigan, we decided that we didn't live in Michigan the rest of our life.
Yeah.
And so we packed it all up and moved to Portland, Oregon by choice.
Yep.
After being in Oregon for a couple of years and working for a company out there, I decided I could hang out my own shingle and be a consultant. I could help companies, because being an auditor, I had learned a lot about how business runs, because we look at every aspect of the business.
Right.
And so also having an IT background, I could help companies navigate through difficult technology implementations like ERP systems and things like that. So I started a consulting business. And if you know anything about the Pacific Northwest, you know that there's a lot of little entrepreneurial food and beverage companies.
There are. That's absolutely true.
And just happened that 75% of my clients were food and beverage companies.
Wow. Yep.
And one of my clients was a company called Golden Temple Natural Products. Now they've sold off part of their business and renamed it East West Tea Company.
Okay.
But you would know it better as Yogi Tea.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
So I consulted with Yogi Tea for a couple of years in the U.S.
Wow.
And then they offered me the position of the international CEO to run all of their international business.
Incredible.
And so I packed up the family and moved back to Europe, moved to Hamburg, Germany, and ran the international operation for Yogi Tea for almost 7 years.
Incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
And that got me in food and beverage. So then when we came back to the U.S., I just stayed in the natural channel food and beverage industry. Yep. And if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll say, wow, this guy can't keep a job. I mean, he's going from company to company.
Yeah.
But a lot of that most of it was all purposefully planned. It was,
Of course.
brought in. I've connected with private equity and been
Yeah.
brought into a number of different companies to either turn them around, improve
Sure.
profitability, grow top line, combination of things.
Yeah, of course.
And the way I got connected with Alter Eco was I was actually an advisor to the private equity group that owned Alter Eco.
Oh, wow.
And in 2020, they asked me to join the board.
Mm.
So I became a board member for Alter Eco.
Okay.
And in 2023, the private equity group decided that they had owned the company for 7 years.
Right.
They were going to turn the asset over.
Yep.
And when they decided they were going to sell it, I raised my hand and said, "Can I buy it?"
Mm.
And they said, "Sure, if you have the money." And I said, "Well, I'll go find the money."
I'll get the money. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where Trek One Capital stepped in. It's a group out of Houston, and they sponsored me, and we acquired Alter Eco, and I've been running it since September of 23.
Very cool story. I love that story. It's incredible when you're in a lane for so long, you get so familiar with it. You understand the nuances of it. The food and bev space is obviously nuanced. There's a lot of layers. There's retail, there's, D2C e-com. There's a lot of, granular aspects to each and what makes it work well. But to have those relationships cultivating and brewing, to then have the opportunity set at the same time, to then take the action to bring you into the CEO role, that's great. It sounds like total alignment, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's a challenging space.
Yes,
every CPG space is challenging.
Absolutely.
It is, but chocolate even more so, I think. Chocolate and coffee, a few other commodities.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've read it in the press and seen it in the news. When we acquired Alter Eco, cocoa beans were selling for about $3,800 a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And in April, four months later, they were selling for $12,800 a ton.
Wow. Wow.
So navigating that has been challenging.
I'm sure.
All of our chocolates are manufactured in Switzerland, so they're some of the best premium quality products you can put in your mouth. Yeah. And the tariffs rolled along, and that didn't help the matter either.
No, I can imagine.
And unfortunately, cocoa plants don't grow. Cacao plants and cacao beans do not grow in the United States.
Right. No. And it doesn't work.
There's no way around that. So but it's been a great last year and a half, 2 years. Alter Eco is I say Alter Eco is kind of the OG of sustainability in the chocolate space.
Yep.
We try to do everything the right way.
Yeah.
We source directly from the farmers and farmer co-ops. Yep. And we source most of our beans from Ecuador, Dominican Republic, a little bit from Peru. Sure. We're organic. We're Fair for Life certified. We're climate neutral. We're plastic neutral. We're B Corp certified. I mean, like I said, we try to do everything the right way.
Absolutely. Well, I've had your products. They're wonderful. Fairly recently, actually. It's hard not to enjoy great chocolate that is also mission driven. You have the benefits of it tastes great and you're doing great for the world, which is also, it works hand in hand. It's a wonderful thing. How do you feel like you balance mission with margin while scaling a business that's rooted in sustainability, especially now as we're talking tariffs, as we're talking uncertainties happening globally with different impact sectors? Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, we won't stray away from our mission. That's what makes us who we are. That's our DNA.
Yep.
But you do have to balance that. And unfortunately for the consumer, they're going to have to accept the fact that a chocolate bar is going to cost $6 or $7.
Yep.
They're going to have to accept that a bag of coffee is going to cost $15.
Yeah.
Because the market has gone there, and unfortunately, it's not going to go back. Now, traded commodities always come back down to some degree.
That's right.
But because of what's driving the increase in commodities like cacao and coffee, it's climate.
Right.
And it's not going to reverse itself very quickly.
Yep.
And once the shortage has started happening, then you got all the speculators in the market and the traders driving the price.
Mm.
And so, it'll cycle. There'll be new cacao plantations come online.
Yeah.
Brazil's been planting for a number of years. Yeah. There's more planting going on in Dominican Republic and Costa Rica. So, I mean, it'll come online, but it takes approximately 5 years for a cacao plant to produce.
Wow. It's incredible. That's like half of the lifespan of an avocado plant or tree. You know, it sounds like about half. It's about 13 years for an avocado. It's incredible. I didn't realize it took that long. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And they'll produce for 50, 60, 70 years once they start producing in the right conditions.
Yeah.
And in West Africa, where there was so much monocropping going on, and then the extreme weather patterns of drought, and then floods, and then drought, and then floods, it's just caused disease, and it's caused just lack of yield.
When you were talking commodities, the thing that popped into my head was a movie from a long time ago. I'm not sure if everybody will remember this. You might. But it was called Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. I kept thinking, how they're trading commodities. You know, he's explaining what a commodity is to Eddie Murphy. And it reminds me of that because so much goes into this. There's so many sides to this to get you to a final product. So many things that influence, pre-production to marketing to sales to distribution to accessibility passed to the consumer. Not even just retail, but also D2C e-com. If we're talking, direct to consumer through your website, through other channels like Amazon, there's so many things that go into this, so many things that impact the entire life cycle of getting that product to you. And you're right. Sometimes the value of a great product needs to be there. And I think the translation needs to be if things go up or things go down, we adjust. And as a consumer, we have to say, we're going to pay for a great product. It's worth it.
And I think that's it. I think you have to. I tell people all the time, don't ever underestimate the value of your product.
Yeah.
If it's truly a quality product and you're delivering, you have transparency and you're delivering the things that you say you're delivering.
Right.
Then price for it. You don't have to gouge the market, but impact-driven companies can only have impact if they stay in business.
That's absolutely true. Spot on. Yeah. Keep the impact going. Golden rule of business, stay in business, especially as an impact.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly.
So exactly.
So I think, and consumers understand that.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that, you don't have to show your receipts. We'll be publishing either tomorrow or maybe early next week. We'll be publishing what we call our annual Regen report.
Oh, wow.
We spend an inordinate amount of time pulling together and measuring what we do. And then we publish it to the world.
That's
great. You can go to our website and you can read our Regen reports back 4 or 5 years and you can see the progress we're making.
It's very helpful.
And we do that because we want to make sure that the consumers understand that we're not greenwashing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We tell you exactly what we're doing.
That's good. Yeah. It makes such a difference. I think when you are impact driven and you care about being climate forward and you care about the end product to the consumer, you want to share that. You want people to build that trust, and really comprehend that it means something to them just as it means something to you. What does it mean, being a climate forward company? What does that truly mean at Alter Eco? And how do you feel like that's different from just being what we call quote unquote sustainable, as a climate forward organization?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that we do, like I said, is we measure everything.
Right.
And we measure all of our emissions.
Yeah.
And we constantly look for ways and work on ways to reduce those.
Yep.
And that is in every aspect of what we do. Now, having said that, I said earlier, cacao beans don't grow in the United States. They
Right.
also don't. They also don't grow in Switzerland.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so our cacao beans travel a little bit before
Yeah.
they get to the consumer.
Right.
But we want to monitor that and do that in the most emissions and climate friendly way as possible. So I'll give you a perfect example. When I took over the company, and I understand the rationale behind this. So when a company is a startup, you build a network around you, not just within your network of friends and acquaintances, but also your network of your geography. So when Alter Eco started, it was in San Francisco. Yep. And they built a relationship with a third-party logistics provider in the Bay Area, in Oakland. Yep. And so chocolates are manufactured in Switzerland. They get put on a boat. They were coming through the Panama Canal, coming all the way to Oakland, California. And 60% of our sales are on the East Coast. So I said that, number one, that's very inefficient. Number two, it's very costly. It's very costly.
Yeah.
But it's also not conducive to the climate friendly.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Company that we are.
Right.
So we moved our third-party logistics to Columbus, Ohio. And that way we can service the U.S. very efficiently.
Right. Yep.
But we also worked with our manufacturing partner. So when they manufacture our product, they sit on the Rhine River. It goes on a barge. It goes up the Rhine to Antwerp, Belgium.
Wow.
It gets put on a container ship. It comes to Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
It gets put on a rail car and goes to Columbus, Ohio. It only travels by truck 10 miles.
Wow. That's incredible. Talk about a reduction in, travel distance by truck. Yeah.
We reduced our scope 3 emissions from that transport by 54% from what they were previously.
Wow, that's incredible. That's significant. Yeah.
And we think about those things in every decision we make.
Wow.
We try to find packaging suppliers close to our manufacturer.
Makes sense.
Try to find, marketing materials close to where we're going to need them.
Yep.
We don't believe in shipping things all over the world.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. And, I think the efficiency aspect has helped you to be more climate forward, and that's a big part of that, right? So it's your ethos, it's your mission, it's your vision. And now here's the application and the extendability of what that really looks like. Right. And then you report that and, digest that, pass that back to the consumer so they understand. But it's real. It's actually happening. It's not just marketing fluff like you see a lot. It's real. It's transparent. So,
well, and if you go back to the farm level.
Yeah.
So we're working with our manufacturing partner out of Switzerland. We're working with them on a project in Dominican Republic right now.
Yeah.
To help the farmers plant coconut trees, not cacao plants, coconut trees.
Yeah.
Because what we found is that coconuts are very high demand in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
They can't grow enough, so they import. They import mostly from Indonesia and Vietnam. So they're creating all emissions to get them in.
Yeah.
And not to mention the cost. So by helping the farmers to plant coconut trees, we're providing them another source of income. B, we're reducing emissions by reducing the imports.
Right.
And C, we're providing a cover crop that will protect the cocoa plants, the cacao beans, the cacao plants that grow underneath them.
That makes sense. That's really interesting. Wow. Fascinating. Yeah. All the things you're not aware of that play such a big role in, again, getting to the end products, but are such a big part of this entire ecosystem. Again, being climate forward, being regenerative in agriculture. And it sounds like it extends out to your packaging, which you touched on earlier, compostable packaging. That's very tricky, notoriously tricky. How do you manage to make it a reality across your product line? How do you navigate that part from the packaging side?
Well, we're not 100% there yet. That's one of those
Yeah,
areas where we're still working on.
of course.
So if you look at our chocolate category, so we have two
Yep.
product lines. We have chocolate. Well, we actually have three. We have chocolate, we have granola, and we have quinoa.
Right.
Our chocolate line, the bars, the outer package is compostable. The
Yep.
inner foil is recyclable,
Yes.
but we
Yeah.
needed that for product integrity and
Right.
shelf life.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Our little truffles, though,
Mm.
the wrapper on our truffles is actually backyard compostable.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
We're the only company in the world that does that.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you're definitely
And
working on it. You have products in market that are doing just that already, and then it's just an evolution from there.
now our granola is still in plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are working with several packaging manufacturers
Yeah.
to try to get to a compostable package for our granola as well.
Wow.
We're doing shelf life studies. We're doing accelerated testing.
Sure.
One of the things that's a little bit unique about our granola is we don't use sugar to sweeten our granola. We sweeten with fruit.
Wonderful. Yeah.
That's a great attribute.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
fruit will go rancid way quicker than sugar will.
That's right.
So the integrity of the product is first and foremost. So
Absolutely.
given that we're using plastic, and by the way, we use post-consumer recycled plastic. We don't put virgin plastic into the market.
Right. Right.
But given the fact that we are using plastic, we partnered with a firm called Repurpose Global.
Oh, wow.
And we are harvesting plastics out of the environment and recycling them to the same level or more than what we're introducing into the environment. So we are we're plastic neutral certified.
Right. Sounds like there's a huge offset there. I mean, even if you're putting something out, you're offsetting that with a better quality product. Again, you're reducing travel time with emissions. You've got these regenerative practices for farming. You're planting things like coconuts, as you talked about, for insulated layers. There's a lot here. I mean, it's not just one facet here. It's the entirety of the business, the ops, the distribution, and I'm assuming it sounds like it has a trickle effect to a lot of the vendors, suppliers you work with too, on all aspects. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We're very, very, very particular about which suppliers we work with. They have to have the same kind of ethos as we do.
Right. Makes total sense.
Our manufacturing partner in Switzerland, 95% of their energy is clean energy.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our plastic supplier for our packaging, they are leading the charge in helping us try to find better recyclability, compostability, so we're constantly working with these guys. And so we're very particular about who our partners are.
It's wonderful. What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions about consumers that they might still have about being ethical, quote unquote? Some of those misconceptions that exist.
Well, I think they do. I think a lot of it, you mentioned it earlier, a lot of it is marketing fluff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Organic has even gotten a bad rap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we're organic. We get audited every year.
Yep.
We show our receipts. But a lot of companies out there just talk about, we're all natural or we're organic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get the certification. They don't go through the process. We make sure that anything we say to people that we are or we do, we can prove it. We have
backed up
to back it up.
Yeah. That's phenomenal.
I think consumers are very skeptical. They see all these labels on stuff and there's more coming all the time. And my package designer, she said, if you get one more certification, I'm going to kill you. You've got a bar this big. And
you can't put it there anymore.
Where am I going to put all this stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Where does it go? Yeah, no, we understand. On the other side of my life, we talked about this briefly earlier before the show. We run an agency. We do a lot of branding, design. We used to do package design years ago before we became all digital. But what's fascinating is you're right, trying to fit everything into that small little space. It's not an easy thing to achieve. It holds true with digital too. In today's day and age, everyone wants to cram everything in, and you need that information available and accessible, but you also have to create a great user experience, customer experience, product experience. And from a designer's perspective, I completely understand. It can be really challenging to do that.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Yeah. What is one major challenge you faced, if we talk challenges, trying to innovate while staying true to your core values? If you're pushing into new territories, if you're thinking about, how do we modernize, how do we evolve, how do we innovate? What has been one major challenge or a challenge that you've experienced?
Well, I think understanding where the consumers are going is always a challenge. It's interesting because Alter Eco has been around for a little more than 20 years.
Yep.
And about 10 years or so ago, maybe 8 years ago, they launched a line of truffles that they called keto bombs. And keto was such a phase, such a trend. Yeah. Alter Eco was a little slow to pick it up.
Yeah.
And by the time they launched them, keto was kind of like, it's kind of passé.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
So you have to be careful following the trends because as you know, it costs a lot of money to launch a new product.
It does. Yeah. It does.
You got all the marketing behind it. You got the product development. You got the packaging design. You got the print runs. And, it's not like you can just print 500 of them and try it out. No.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so keeping up with the trends and understanding where the trends are going. I mean, the biggest trend at Sweets and Snacks, one of the biggest trade shows in our industry this year was Dubai chocolate. And everybody wants to jump on the Dubai chocolate bandwagon.
Wow.
I'm not going to jump on the Dubai chocolate bandwagon.
Yeah.
It's a trend. It may be really popular for a while.
That's it.
But by the time I got it into production and out in the market, I'm not sure people would be paying attention to it.
That's right.
So we try to innovate with things where we believe they have staying power.
Makes sense.
We launched 3 new bars this year.
Oh, wow.
3 new flavors. One of them is called Coffee Brittle.
Now,
chocolate covered espresso beans have been around forever.
Yes.
And I love them.
Yep.
But what I don't like is that the coffee bean gets stuck in my teeth when I'm eating.
It's the worst. Yeah.
So we developed a chocolate bar with coffee beans in it, but they're ground up into a brittle, a paste, and it gives that crunch of the coffee bean, but it doesn't stick in your teeth.
Doesn't stick in your teeth. Yeah, solve the problem. Yeah.
So good.
I bet.
And then we look for popular flavors that have staying power as well.
Yeah.
The other 2 flavors that we launched was a passion fruit cream truffle thin.
Okay. Interesting.
Very popular. And we believe it has staying power. And then the other one is a sweet ginger truffle thin. Now, ginger.
That sounds good.
Ginger's been a popular flavor for decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not in candy. So let's put it in candy. And it's not a sharp ginger. It's a sweet ginger. It's a nice. But
ginger's great.
On the back.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I think it can be really complementary. When you think about ginger with chocolate, it has that sweet but slightly spicy, aromatic, anti-inflammatory, very helpful, right? Ginger's great. And I think it complements really well. It sounds really interesting. It definitely seems like it has some staying power, which is cool. When we think about the farmers, you talked about this a little bit. How has that relationship evolved over time? How have you seen the farming relationship with Alter Eco change as you've come on board and really shaped the organization?
Well, I think it's strengthened significantly. They see that we're committed to them in ways that aren't just directly beneficial for us.
Right.
Helping them understand and we don't really call it regenerative farming.
Yeah.
We call it dynamic agroforestry. Because regenerative farming is really applicable to company or farmers that are growing annual crops like grains.
Right.
because they're harvesting that crop, they're putting a cover crop down to regenerate the soil, and then they're planting that crop again for next year.
Makes sense.
Like I said earlier, cacao plants last for 50 years.
Wow. It's incredible.
But what we're helping them do is put that cacao plant back into its native environment.
Yeah.
And that native environment is a jungle that has maybe coconut trees or plantain trees or banana trees or avocado bushes.
Yeah, avocado,
or timber trees or passion fruit pines. All those things coexist. And by educating the farmer on those and having them understand that all those are going to work toward improving the soil health.
Right.
B, those larger trees in times of drought, those larger trees have much deeper roots. They're going to bring up more groundwater to help the other smaller plants still continue to survive.
Right.
And they're going to provide shade in times of drought where the sun would bake those plants if they were the smaller plants, if they were out in the open.
That makes sense.
And it gives them revenue streams.
Right. It's huge.
And we're more than happy to support their revenue streams because Alter Eco has 3 core principles that we stand on.
Mm-hmm.
Improving ecosystems, hence the name, or restoring ecosystems even. Improving livelihoods. Our chocolates are Fair for Life certified.
Mm-hmm.
And reducing waste, hence the compostable packaging. Those are our 3 core principles.
Makes sense.
So making those connections with the farmers to where they understand that we care about them as a person.
Yeah.
Even if cacao prices go to $12 or $13 or $14,000, they're not going to sell them on the open market. They're going to come and sell them to us.
Yep.
Because they're loyal to us because they know we're loyal to them.
Of course. Yeah, there's a level of reciprocity there. And I think there's trust and rapport, and that's important. Everybody cares about everybody. They're doing good business for good people for a good reason that's mission driven, that, has values and, creates impact at scale. So I think that's really important. And, when you're in this impact category as a leader, it means the world to have those relationships in play. You talked a little bit about this, Keith, with supply chain disruptions and inflation and tariffs. We talked about that at the beginning. Who knows where it's headed? We don't know. It's all a little bit of a surprise. Every day is a new day.
Every day is a new
day. How do you stay resilient, while keeping your products accessible, knowing that?
Personally, I do. I keep my faith, my focus, my resiliency, because I know I'm doing this for something much bigger than me.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate last year to be named as one of the leading organic companies in the food industry by a magazine called Food Business Review. Okay, well, that's great. The Food Business Review named us. They did a full cover feature on us and everything, and they asked me for a headshot to go on the cover of the magazine. Yeah. And I said, no. Put a picture of our farmers or, somebody in our supply chain, because those are the guys that make the difference. And they said, well, it's kind of our model to always have the picture of the CEO on the cover. Yeah. And I said, okay, I'm going to send you a headshot. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but this is why I do what I do. And at the time, my youngest granddaughter was about 6 months old. Oh, and wow. I sent them a picture of me holding her. Oh. And she had a big, huge smile on her face. That's great. Yeah. And they used it.
Oh, that's great.
And so
really nice. Yeah.
That's how I keep my focus, is because regenerative farming and dynamic agroforestry, I think they have a chance to make a difference in what we're doing to this world. But I don't know that I'll live long enough to see major radical changes. But my grandkids will.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're really, on the cusp of that radical change. You're a change agent that is starting that movement, that bigger impact movement, to drive the change that can have that trickle effect to be passed along that people, years from now can continue to see and hopefully continue to pass the torch on to elicit more change, more radical change, which is really important. I think if we can get it right, from a climate forward perspective, an impact perspective, this is just me speaking as a consumer, right? If we could get it right and also be profitable as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a company leader, and then be able to continue to see that impact at scale, that's huge. So that's what we want, right? We want to do good and to continue to make money and to continue to see that progression. So it's very exciting. That brings me to another question. If you think about Ultra Eco right now and this ethical food movement, where we're going, where do you see it going? Where do you see it headed into in the next 5 to 10 years? Just kind of reaching out into the distance a little bit, 5 to 10 years out. Where do you think it's going?
Well, Ultra Eco has historically been a natural channel product. So you can find us at all the major natural channel retailers.
Yep.
But we have to get into the conventional market.
Yeah.
I live in a very remote part of Tennessee.
Yeah.
I don't have a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or a Natural Grocers or even an independent natural food store.
Right.
I have Walmart and Food City and Kroger.
Yep.
I can't get Ultra Eco there.
Right.
And that's shameful. Not from a brand perspective, but from a consumer perspective.
Of course.
I believe we produce the best tasting chocolate that you can find in retail. Now, of course, there's artisanal chocolates that are amazing and fabulous.
Yeah.
But those are not at scale.
Right. Right.
So I want all consumers to be able to walk into their grocery store of choice and be able to find Ultra Eco, because I tell people every day, we produce the best tasting chocolate in the world, and you're improving the planet one chocolate bar at a time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, I think it's a core guide. It's an anchor to help, really position us for growth as a company, as a brand, as leaders, as a team, as a culture. And then again, as you said, being able to be somewhere, I remember for a period of time, we talked about this before, I grew up in Chicago and then I was in Kansas City for a long time. For a period of time, I was in Lawrence, Kansas. I went to KU for a while, University of Kansas. It's a smaller area. You go a little bit farther out, it gets smaller and smaller. And I still have friends there, and you couldn't get a lot. Like Super Target came in, it was a big deal. And that was like the big deal, right? So at that time and place, and you're right, having that accessibility for great products, great brands, it's really important because consumers can then take advantage of the impact Ultra Eco is making in their own regional geographic area. It's really important because you can't get everything everywhere. And, the older you get, sometimes there's less accessibility with technology. Amazon only goes so far. The more remote, it just gets harder and harder. So from a distribution perspective.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, a lot of the buying has migrated to online, or at least online ordering and pickup, and things like that.
Yeah.
But chocolate, while I love our e-commerce customers and I'm grateful that they support us, chocolate doesn't ship real well during the summertime.
That's true.
Doesn't really ship real well during the wintertime either, for that matter. But but we have a thriving e-commerce business, and I love it. But it's a challenge to ship chocolate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. That makes sense. Maybe the future with drones will happen where, there's little drone deliveries and more remote areas. I need to build that business. I've thought about it, how do we get drones doing more, because it's just, obviously in Asia, they're doing that a lot. I've seen that happen very frequently. So they're usually ahead of the times. One question I have for you, leading into a couple more, if every food brand, could implement just one positive thing Ultra Eco is doing that you think could have the biggest global impact, what would that be? That's something you're doing today that could have that trickle effect to other, brands in similar categories, different categories that you think would be valuable?
I think one of the most impactful things we could do from a climate perspective is to reduce the amount of waste that's going into landfills, create more of a recyclable, compostable packaging. And that's pretty much available to anybody that wants to embrace it. It's more expensive. It's takes sometimes the runnability in a production environment. It may slow the runs down a little bit.
Right.
The NatureFlex packaging, for example, doesn't run as fast as plastic will. It doesn't have that level of durability. So, but that would have a major impact. Not everybody can source organic. There's not enough organic materials in the world to supply every food brand. Not everybody can source from regenerative farms because we're a long ways from being there. I think where you can, you should, but we're a long ways from being there. But packaging, that technology's been available for decades.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all true. It's all true. What do you think is one habit or philosophy that has helped you stay grounded as a leader? I think this is a really important and oftentimes overlooked thing, to be grounded when everything else is happening around you. You're C-suite, you're an executive, you're a leader, you're an entrepreneur. What has been the one thing, or maybe a couple things, habits, philosophies that have guided you to stay grounded in that leadership role?
I think the way I was raised. I was raised on a farm in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And it's still in my family. My oldest daughter and son-in-law and my grandson are working the farm. Oh, that farm's been in our family since the early 1800s.
Wow. That's incredible.
And I think understanding what it takes to grow your own food. We still have a huge garden.
Yeah.
We grow our own food. We raise organic beef cattle. My daughter and son-in-law have converted the farm to a organic farm. They rotate the cattle. They don't use pesticides and herbicides anymore.
Amazing.
They've made that conversion. And my daughter asked me the other day, she said, "Did you used to have doves on the farm when you were growing up?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "When we moved here, we didn't have any." She said, but they're back.
Wow. Very cool.
Wild turkey are back and the frogs are back. And so they've restored that whole ecosystem. Now, I grew up with it that way. But over the years, we moved away from that. We started farming with chemicals. And
exactly. It pushed it all away.
With Dow Chemical, and so, coming back to the roots is something that I think about a lot. You asked me earlier on how I got in the food industry. It wasn't by design.
Yep.
But now that I'm here and that I've been in the natural foods industry for so long now, it fits perfectly with the way I grew up.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's that mission, vision alignment, goes back to when you were younger. You're excited about it. You're passionate about it. It's ingrained, it's who you are, which is huge. I think that those are the best success stories, when it's natural and it's an evolution as to what that natural tendency looks like, that gravitational pull looks like, and you just keep building on it. I grew up with, my mom would tell me, improve your strengths and manage your weaknesses. That's some of the best things you could do, right? Just continue to work on that other stuff, but really build on what you're good at, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about that. And there's a lot to be said about being true to who you are and continuing that evolution. So it's really cool. Was there a book, a quote, or an experience that, in addition to your background, your childhood, your youth, that shaped your outlook as a business leader, specifically in the sustainability space? Anything that comes to mind for our listeners or viewers?
Not so much just limited to sustainability, but I had an experience. I was the chief information officer for a privately held company, a very large company, about 1,200 employees, privately held. And that was in my IT days. And we needed to upgrade the network. And so I prepared this full presentation, went in and talked to the owners. And it was going to be about $1.5 million to $2 million expenditure. Yeah. And I started explaining the technology and what it was going to do. And the owner stopped and he said, stop. I don't understand any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
You're the expert in this. I have one
Yeah.
question for you. One simple question.
Mm-hmm.
If this was your money and you were writing the check, would you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll never bring you something that I wouldn't do if it were my own company.
Yeah.
And he said, then go do it.
Yep. That's
And
great.
so what that told me was you always have to think like an owner.
Yes.
I don't care
100%.
where you are in the organization.
Yep.
Think like an owner. Because if you do that, chances are you'll probably make the right decision.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Great advice. And so true. I think when you can step inside the shoes and the day-to-day and the way someone else is navigating something from a different perspective, as you said, as an owner, as an operator, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, it just goes a long, long way. I think the more education on that, the more you can speak to that, the better. 100%. Yeah, no, it's so spot on. Well, this has been great. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We could go on forever. There's so much to talk about. Where can people find you? Where can they find Alter Eco? We talked about that a little bit, but where can they find you? Where can they buy Alter Eco? Where can they visit online? Anything you could share about that?
Well, they can find us on our website for sure. It's alterecofoods.com. They can find us on Amazon, of course. And they can find us pretty much in every natural grocery store around the world. We're in Whole Foods, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, to name the three big ones. But we're also in a lot of the regional markets, and we're making our pathway into the conventional channel.
Incredible. Well, you are definitely becoming radical as an individual, as a brand, as a business, as a team, very mission-driven, impact-driven. We will be cheering you on every step of the way. We welcome you back on the show anytime as you continue to evolve things into the future, as we all see changes happening in the world. This has been great, amazing conversation, and excited to keep watching you every step of the way.
Thank you so much. Really
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Becoming Radical. If today's episode sparked something in you, follow wherever you listen, join the conversation, and share it with someone ready to think beyond limits. Be unlimited, be bold, and become radical. See you next time.